we will go ahead and get started since we're on time. So thank you all for being here today. I believe I have the recording started so we can capture this. Okay, so today's topic, as you all probably are aware as you signed up, is really learning more about kind of the historical significance of AERA and the importance of recruitment and retention into our SIG. So that's going to be our main focus. And we're going to hear from a variety of speakers and share kind of what's going on with all of you. And hopefully, if you're not a member, we can get you considering to join. And if you are currently a member, you can share with us some ways that maybe the leadership can potentially support you moving forward. So if any of you aren't sure what SIG93 stands for, it's the Research on Learning and Instruction in Physical Education. SIG stands for, of course, Special Interest Group within AERA. So there are many SIGs. In fact, many of our membership participate in a variety of SIGs within the AERA umbrella outside of health and PE. And so we'll get to hear hopefully from a few of them either today or in the future as well. Okay, move forward. So big thank you for being here today. These are the three areas that I mentioned we are going to discuss about the current status of the SIG and where we see it moving forward, and hopefully answer some of your questions and hear from people who have been participants and mainstays in our SIG for some time. I've sat in on several of these meetings, and I don't think we ever really officially introduced the current leadership. So I did want to take a second to do that. Those of you that are in the leadership that I can see, I've written on the board the order. I'd like you to introduce yourself just real briefly. So if you don't mind unmuting and introducing yourself. Our current chair, Corey Dixon, couldn't be here today. He has class, but he's currently the chair of AER SIG 93. Risto, do you mind taking it next?
Yep. So Reisu Marttinen, I am the past chair. So the way that we work is we go chair-elect, chair, and past chair. So that's a 3-year cycle. And before that, I was the program chair, which is Mara's position currently.
Well, I'll take it from there. Mara Simon, Springfield College, and I am on my last year as program chair for AERA.
And I'm Tori Shiver. I'm at University of New Mexico, and I'm currently serving as the Secretary Treasurer for the SIG.
Hi, I'm Sunyeon Baek. I work at SUNY Cortland, and I'm a social media manager.
Hello, my name is Youngjun Kim. I'm a doctoral candidate at University of Illinois. I'm serving as a graduate student representative.
Wonderful, thank you all. And then I'm Kelly Simonton. I'm at the University of Wyoming, and I'm currently the chair-elect. So I'll be filling in for Corey after our next conference cycle. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So who and what is AERA? So I mentioned the SIG93 is a special interest group under the American Education Research Association with specific focus on learning and instruction in PE, as many of you probably could have guessed. But what you might not be aware of is kind of the breadth and depth of the research and the presentation areas that we cover in our AERA SIG. So for example, we traditionally have presentations in the physical education curriculum, instruction, and assessment area, as well as physical literacy, physical activity, and comprehensive school health. We've also recently seen a good influx, an important influx on before and after school programs and community partnerships as it relates to the goals of PE and student PA. And then also, obviously, we've had some significant presentations on the PET side, or the physical education teacher education side. So for any of you who aren't sure of kind of the breadth of what AERA covers, you're probably familiar with these bullet points for some of our other organizations, but we've had specific research, expertise, and presentations in all of these areas. So if you find yourself as an expert in one of the areas listed, there's a real chance that AERA is a place for you. Another thing is I wanted to update you all on kind of our current membership. So you can see on the right side, since 2016 through 2014, we don't have the current numbers right now, and I'll explain why here in a minute. But you can see we've really maintained membership in our SIG in that high 80s to low 90s area. We've seen a slight dip this last year and into 2025, which is one of the reasons we want to have this conversation with you all. But you can see that's about where our membership stands, and we typically see a significant number of those those with membership attending the conference each year. I would say in the AERA session or the conferences I've attended the last 3 to 4 years, we've been around probably 50 to 60 people attending the conference in those years. Risto, you're have been pretty good at staying up to date on the data. Is that where you've seen our conference attendance in that range?
Yeah, it kind of depends. If we're on the East Coast, we get more from, we get some European scholars, and when we're on the West Coast, we tend to get a lot of people from Australia and New Zealand doing their like once every 4 years trip. So it fluctuates, but we have a really strong showing, even through the dips of COVID and all of the hybrid kind of conferences. We've always had a good solid group of people who come to the conferences.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing. And I know in the hybrid version that we had during COVID, I was really shocked actually compared to the other organizations I was involved with, how many people stayed with and attended. So that's great. I want to give you all just a little historical background on AERA from some of our senior faculty who've had a chance to be involved for quite some time. I was able, unfortunately, some of these folks weren't able to attend today for various reasons. I know some people are traveling for AKA. Some senior scholars, I think, are on retirement, and they're happy to have some drinks and stay home and not attend. But they were nice enough to send over some words about the importance of AERA, and I just want to share those with you real quick. So as a treat, I'm going to skip to the next slide. These photos were sent by Dr. Tom Templin, who is retired and was most recently at the University of Michigan. So here's a note from Tom. The SIG dated back to the late 1970s with leadership of from a young professor named Dr. Don Chu. The first picture you can see here on the left features Paul Schempp and yours truly at one of the initial SIG meetings in DC, I believe. The purpose was to discuss informal research in the field as well as future directions. They were brainstorm sessions. There were no formal presentations at the time, and everyone had a chance to present ideas and react to them if they chose to attend. The meetings were very informal, civil, and at the same time critical in nature as we discussed theory, research, and design. This enabled young scholars to develop and enhance their work. Importantly, research collaborations emerged from these meetings. For example, the work that I did with Paul Schempp and Sparks. We were fortunate to have senior scholars in attendance, people like Locke, Siedentop, Bain, Lawson, and Anderson, and others from all over the country. We started small, it grew in size and stature. It was one of the most beneficial meetings I attended, and its link to AERA has facilitated growth and the status of physical education for each individual. Many great ideas and products emerged from these meetings, and the kind of revolution in those days that evolved from Peat Research. Programs like Ohio State, Teachers College at Columbia, UMass, Stanford, and Georgia, as well as many others, led the way, and smaller groups emerged from the disciplines and the mentors from these initial meetings. My sense is it would be nice for the future of AERA to continue in the SIG and perhaps provide a combination of these informal brainstorms as well as the formal. So I want to thank Dr. Templin for providing those notes and sharing some of these photos from the early days. I don't know, Senyun, maybe we need to be documenting some of these moments that we're having now so we can potentially pass these on to the future generation as well. Just two other quick notes I want to share from Dr. Pam Kalina. I joined AERA SIG93 in 1997 when I was completing my PhD. I was encouraged to join our SIG by my mentor, Dr. Steve Silverman, who's still an active member of our SIG. I suggest to doctoral students that it's an important organization to get involved with. in our SIG, and it's a great place for graduate students to stay involved and network. Our SIG provides an opportunity to present work and learn of the work of others in a more complete way, since proposals of 2,000 words forces us to complete a more complete draft of our work and research. This is the traditional review process necessary to produce the highest quality of work. An early draft of papers should be presented publicly for comments and discussions, in my opinion. This feedback, in turn, should inform manuscripts and revisions before submitting works for publication. Our SIG is more research focused and is comprised of a more international membership than a lot of other organizations in our field. The biggest benefit to the SIG involvement is developing collegial relationships with scholars in our field from around the world. This is an essential part of the process of being a faculty member. I'd like to see our SIG and membership grow and our sessions and research expand. Thank you to Dr. Kalina for providing her note. Last one I want to share is from Dr. Sarah Flory at the University of South Florida. I joined as a PhD student because of my major professor and their value for the membership with ARA, and thought it would help me in my scholarly journey. I was definitely a little bit overwhelmed and intimidated during my first meetings because I was hearing from the giants, in quotes, from the people within our field. These folks whose work you read and cite in your own work. But then you get to interact with them and you get to learn what they have experienced with their graduate students as well. Our SIG is fantastic, an amazing opportunity to connect to broader educational research. I think SIG93 and ARA is where the highest caliber of PE research in the US is presented each year, because we can focus on the specific topics with other folks in higher education. Our peers all speak the same language. Hands down, collaboration is the biggest benefit. Some of my closest colleagues and friends were those I met during ARA. The ideas that were discussed at ARA SIG 93 events eventually became research projects and partnerships that for me have lasted for years. So thank you to Dr. Flory for providing some feedback. I also want to share a short video that was submitted to us from Dr. Banville. Give me 1 second to pull this up. Tori, can I get a thumbs up if you can hear this as it starts?
I've been there for 25 years now. It's my 25th year. And I've been a member of the SIG, I believe, all those years, and maybe even before, when I started my career at McGill University in Montreal. So Kelly has asked me to share a little bit about why anyone would want to become a member of the SIG. So I think that for me anyway, it's a great way to stay up to date with the current research. I don't necessarily have time to read all the articles that come out, but going to conferences, and especially AERA and the SIG, really gets me all the latest research that is being conducted. So I really appreciate that, and the quality is incredible. I've been at presentations at other SIGs within AERA, and we are one of the tops that I've seen in terms of quality of research presented. So if I had to say anything to a new member of the SIGs, I would strongly encourage you to attend our Invisible College the day before the official AERA conference starts. I think that that day is so beneficial for me personally as a member of academia and a researcher, a faculty member. I learn a lot of things, and it's outside of the very strict confine of a poster presentation or a research presentation. So that Invisible College really allows me to get to know my colleagues better, because we are in a more kind of social environment in that space. So and I learn new techniques, discuss ideas, and discuss like where the field is going. So this is very beneficial for any members of the SIG. I think one of the biggest benefits for me to being a member of the SIG is the network that you develop. So even though AERA is an American association, we have a number of international members within our SIG, which is greatly beneficial in terms of developing a network that goes beyond our country. So I think for the future of the SIG, we need to continue to promote high level of quality research and encourage this development of professional network that provide opportunities to really be able to get to know our colleagues beyond their little time that they have to present their research. So hopefully you're going to join.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you to Dr. Banville for taking some time to share her thoughts with us. So now we've heard a little bit from the historical perspective. Dr. Richards, who might be able to join us here in a minute, he has some frozen water pipes he's dealing with currently. So if he joins, we'll get to hear from him as well. But I'd like to move to some more recent years and the folks that have been involved most recently. So in the order that I've got listed here, Risto, Mara, Tori, could you just take a minute or two and share what being involved in ARA has meant to you, why you think it's significant, and any advice you might share?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there's been a huge amount of networking, good positions for jobs, and really great research opportunities. Like Dominique, who just talked, I met through ARA, and she was the person that talked to my mentor and said, "Hey, like, is Risto interested in a position at George Mason?" And so I had, in a way, like a really good networked relationship with Dominique before I even applied for the job. I had met her in social settings. She was the chair of that search committee. And so when I applied for that job, it wasn't like something out of the blue, like, I don't know this person, I'm super stressed out. It was a really comfortable interview. So I think the networking is tremendous. And then, the opportunities to present your research with, really big names in the room. I think my very first author paper that was like outside of my dissertation, and this is what I'm passionate about. I gave in an oral session with David Kirk as the discussant. And David Kirk pulled me aside at the SIG happy hour and told me he was going to rip me apart for this paper. And like he did it very kindly, but I don't know where else you get that kind of feedback. And Pam talked about in her talks or in her notes that there are these opportunities to get feedback on your work that is critical. And although I didn't like to hear it as a first year assistant professor, it was very embarrassing to like hear that about my work. It was because I was a lot younger and like less experienced. I now understand how much of an impact that tiny mentoring session, you know, informally helped me shape the kind of research that I now put in for AERA. So I just think the networking and the inside track to the people who are going to be hiring is next to next to nothing. Like I think it's just amazing opportunities. So I've also had really great service experiences, going up for tenure and being able to say that I'm on an American Educational Research Association SIG board for whatever, right? Whether it's, for me, it was program chair and chair elect, but if it's, like Young June is a graduate student rep, like going out for jobs right now, that's great. You can say that you've been in a leadership position even before your PhD. So I think there's just like a lot of opportunities. And I'll let Mara share her views so I don't talk too much.
Thanks, Risto. I don't have a ton more to say that's like different from what you said. I think that it's very clear for those of us who have been in the SIG for a while how that we have, grown and developed as scholars under the direction essentially of like senior people in the SIG. Like they're the ones that we look to, and getting to engage with them at the conference each year is always a highlight for me, because it's been really helpful in, you know, developing my line of research, and just feeling, you know, more confident as a scholar. So I think the community is such a great piece of it. Like we have fun when we go, and everyone chats with everyone, and it's very like we're in this kind of together. And so the experience of getting together at the conference is always very you know, congenial and supportive, I think, in that way. So I would really encourage anyone who's thinking about coming to come, because we want you there and we want to hear, you know, what people are doing in the field. Go ahead, Tori. I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Mara. Yeah, I mean, agreeing with Risto and Mara, when I first went to ARA in San Antonio in 2016 or 17, and I was so intimidated. I'd done shape, but I hadn't done anything like ARA, and I'd heard so many things about how intense it was. So I was really nervous. I was spending time with the giants, like Sarah Flory said. But after doing the Invisible College and, you know, going to the presentations, happy hour experiences, I found out that the giants were actually pretty kind and pretty welcoming. And I started to really look forward to all of these conferences, because I learned a lot within the research realm through my own presentations and feedback, but then hearing from others, but then also just interacting with other people. You know, these people become friends and really excellent colleagues. We have a lot of fun together while we're learning. So I always leave the conference feeling really refreshed and with an appreciation for what we do. We can get a little bogged down throughout the year, but the conference tends to bolster me back up every time I attend and take part in that, and then the leadership opportunities it's provided as well. And I know Corey's not here, so I'll hand it to you, Kel.
Yeah, and thank you all for those comments. Risto, I'll say, really tapped on something Corey wanted to make sure I shared, which was, as an early career faculty, someone looking for mentorship, someone looking to bolster their experiences and connected to research, a future for tenure promotion, these types of things. That's what Corey really identified as some really great opportunities for him to move forward in his career as well. So just to second that. So if you haven't got the sense yet, AERA, the real center foci is research, right? So unlike maybe some of the other organizations that you might be involved with, not that we want to lose our connection to the practitioners, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. But when it comes to having some really in-depth conversation and learning about what's happening in the field, I think AERA sort of separates itself in from a research perspective. And I would say, to me, that is one of the biggest benefits I have experienced. And it was mentioned, I think, in everyone's notes, whether they were here to present or not. The second biggest thing that I've noticed is that ability to network. As everyone said, when you get to see the giants in our field, it's pretty amazing, and getting to hear them talk. I remember I did my PhD related to motivation, and in my first ARA session, Dr. Ong Chin was the discussant. So talk about intimidation, you know, having the giant in our field sit in on our stuff. But you learn how great these people are. Dr. Templin was also one of them that I got to see for the first time at an ARA conference. So the networking is pretty incredible. Young June, as our graduate student leader, will talk here in a little bit about graduate student opportunities. And I can see many PhD students on this call with us today. And I really would highly encourage you to consider getting involved with this organization, because it's very welcoming to PhD students who want to network and learn more about other research that's happening in the field. I did want to make a note too. Those of us who are in academia, you know, how much time do we get to actually sit down and read each other's work? If it doesn't come up as something on our list that's going to help us with our paper, it's really hard. And so getting to go to ARA, I have found, has been a welcoming experience to hear about other people's fields and the research they're doing and the new techniques they're using. And last thing, and then Dr. Richards or Kevin, if you can maybe jump on. I know you had a little delay. We'd like to hear a little bit about your history with ARA and why you'd encourage people to get involved. But you might have heard, I can't remember, was it Dominique who talked about the Invisible College? For those of you that aren't aware, we actually get a 1-day series of sessions and presentations that we call the Invisible College, which actually happens as a pre-session to the ARA convention. We've traditionally done 40 and 50-minute sessions, but they're much more informal. That brainstorming and informal discussion that Dr. Templin mentioned in his notes, that's what the Invisible College is for. And I would say that's got to be in the top 2 to 3 reasons why ARA is so fun and unique, is getting the opportunity to present at the Invisible College. Essentially, here's my idea. Here's what I'm doing. What do you guys think about it? can be part of the discussion. And I know for myself, wanting to hear from senior scholars and other people who have come before me to help me troubleshoot and tell me where I can expand my ideas, that's really unique to ARA and the Invisible College. And so I wanted to make sure that was highlighted. Corey couldn't be here today to talk more about it, but the chair usually organizes that, and we're really excited about our lineup for the Invisible College today. This year, excuse me. In fact, we have a representative from the CDC who slipped into our SIG last year, and she was like, hey, you seem to be the people I need to be talking to about physical activity and physical education in schools. And so we're actually building networks from organizations outside of our PEAT field too. So another benefit that the Invisible College has presented. But before we move on to other benefits, Kevin, do you mind 1 or 2 minutes just talking briefly about your experience with ARA?
Oh, Kelly, if you know anything about me, you know that 1 or 2 minutes is tough.
I got a mute button I found on here, so.
Well, you might need to exercise that. It's the virtual shepherd's crook, I guess. I originally got involved in AERA, I think, like for similar reasons to why many of you likely did as well. My doctoral advisor, Tom Templin, was a regular at AERA for years, was involved in their leadership. And he pulled me into it as a master student. Fast forward a few years, and I ended up serving first as the program chair, and then subsequently as the chair of the SIG. I was honored a few years ago to give, or I guess it was last year, right? The SIG Scholar Lecture, which was probably one of the highlights of my career. AERA is very near and dear to my heart. I think, like Kelly explained, the research value at AERA is just spectacular, and not just within our SIG. The thing that makes AERA different than SHAPE, in addition to the fact that it's more research focused, is that we're connected with educational researchers across all of education. I remember when I was first getting into different research areas and trying to figure out what I wanted to focus my own line of inquiry on. I was intentional about going to outside of SIG presentations at the conference in order to kind of see what other people were doing and what it looked like. This is an important group for us. Maybe I'll say this and then I'll be quiet. This is an important group for us, not for a lot of reasons, but a particularly important reason is that AERA gives our doctoral students and early career faculty members and later career faculty members as well a place to present rigorous, important research. It would be really heartbreaking if we lost this SIG at some point down the road. I don't think that that's an immediate cause for concern. It's always been, we've always kind of fluttered around the 75 mark, ranging from 70s up to the 90s. That's kind of the body of people that have traditionally come to our conference. The faces might have changed over the years, but usually we end up with about that size of a group. So it's not like this is a new thing, is what I'm getting at. And the people who are involved in leadership now definitely don't bear any of the responsibility for where the SIG is in that respect. I do think, though, the idea of getting together and thinking about how we can raise numbers and awareness of the SIG is really critical. And so Kelly and the rest of the SIG leadership, thank you so much for organizing that and for inviting me.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kevin. And as we get to the end of the presentation, as we talk about potential things to move forward. We'd love to get your input as well as everybody else on the call on that too. Let's move forward. Some other benefits of the SIG beyond the couple I've talked about. Risto, can you just give a quick plug for the mentorship program?
Yeah, so this is something that we started officially, I think, last year. We've had some mentoring sessions at the Invisible College that's been run by the executive board. And last year, we wanted somebody who's not necessarily right now a part of the executive board, meaning like it's not on me to have it because then I'm going to leave next academic year and not be on the executive board. So we asked Emily Jones to be an external kind of connector person. So basically we have opportunities for mentors, people who want to guide a graduate student into a assistant professor position. So maybe that's an assistant professor or an associate professor or a full professor helping out somebody who's looking out for promotion or going up for tenure, or somebody who is in administration and can mentor somebody who's a associate or full professor considering a department chair position or another leadership position. So Emily, basically, I'll drop in the application here, but you'd fill out the application, send it to Emily, then Emily will look at our SIG members and who's willing to help out, and then she'll partner you with that person, meaning you get to dictate how much you want. Maybe it's, I have a contract negotiation, I need some help, and I can't talk to anybody within my university because I haven't told anybody that I'm leaving yet. And it could be like a kind of 2-3 month intensive process that somebody helps you out, or it could be like a more career length kind of mentoring relationship that maybe you can't find elsewhere, or the person that used to mentor you has retired. So the program is great. I think it's very underused. And so I think there are a lot of people in our SIG who are very willing to help. And there's a lot of assistant professors who can give way better information on what the job market's like than somebody who's a full professor who hasn't gotten a new job in 15, 20 years. I'll drop in the application and put in an email address if you guys are interested.
Perfect. Thanks, Risto. And he mentioned Dr. Emily Jones is kind of our connector there. She couldn't be here today because she's traveling for AKA or something. So you can reach out to her too with further questions. Real quick, Tori, do you want to plug our webinar series? Obviously, they've all made it this far.
Yeah, so you're already showing excellent promise for our webinar series. You can access these without being a member, but a positive part of being a member is that you receive the emails that immediately provide you with the links to register and show up via Zoom, as opposed to hearing it from an outside source. The conference itself is really the mecca of the SIG offerings, but the webinars are a really great way to stay connected throughout the year. So the leadership team provides timely topics rooted in research, typically each month. Some of our recent webinars were social emotional learning in PEAT, a discussion around 2024 PE standards, presentations from the Australian Association for Research, so kind of the Australian version of AERA and our SIG, qualitative coding, and a hot one was AI and research in PEAT. AI is a good one for sure right now. This is a space where you'll be able to hear from experts in the area, but then you also have opportunities to ask questions or discuss topics further. And it's another way to network. So the leadership team really focuses on creating a space for all levels of academia, from grad students, like we have 5-minute dissertation project presentations, all the way through senior scholars. So it's a good place to show up and show your face and just learn a little something for about an hour a month and keep the good thing going that we have within the conference.
Wonderful, thank you. And one of the last benefits we'll mention on this page is our SIG does give 3 awards out. Not that any of us do this for awards. We certainly, I guess if you do what we do for awards, you're going to be sadly mistaken. But we do give out 3 awards. We give out a senior scholar lecture. Kevin mentioned he was the presenter last year. This year we have Dr. Sam Hodge from Ohio State University, the Ohio State University. And he'll be presenting this year. I know it pains me to say it. I see some heads shaking, but I have to do it. My colleague Tristan Wallhead would not be happy if I didn't. We also give out an exemplary paper of the year award. You likely saw the emails if you were in our membership list this year. Typically, we run the paper award from the year before. So for the calendar year of 2024, those calls usually go out around September, October, and we have until early January for submissions. So we've just completed that process for this upcoming conference year. And then we also give out a graduate student presentation award. So those who are graduate students who submit abstracts, the highest scored abstract that comes from a graduate student as the lead author, we do give an award for that too. So 3 pretty prestigious awards from our SIG that are another opportunity for our benefit from our SIG. I won't rehash what everyone has said, but the last note that I've put an asterisk by here is the real benefit of AERA, in my opinion, is the continued professional development and academic connection that the SIG promotes. I know I have really benefited from that. Also, we are in the field and we do work that is service to those around us and those coming up next, those that paved the way before us. And I think getting involved with the SIG is a great way to be of service to our profession as well. So I think that's a real benefit. All right, I will move forward. So you might be asking yourself, why are they having this seminar in January, or this webinar, excuse me, in January, and why are we talking about recruitment and retention? Well, AERA is quite unique in terms of membership, and this is a real priority for the current leadership as it has been for leadership in the past. So AERA based the amount of session time they give us at the conference for our SIG is based on applicants or abstract submissions and our membership level. You might have heard Kevin mention that our SIG has to maintain a membership of 75 members to remain a SIG. I know there's some bylaw legality pieces there of what that means and how long. Risto could, I'm sure, provide us some background if we need it. But we need to be at 75 members, and we've been in a good spot to be well above that for several years in that 90, high 80 range. But also the number of sessions we get. So Mara, I don't know if you want to speak to this at all, but the number of abstracts and the number of members really dictate how much time we're afforded at the conference. Mara, do you want to have a quick note on that?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know the formula. I really wish that I did. But I can tell you that, for example, this year our submissions overall were down. And so then our number of allotted sessions got cut in half, essentially. And so it's like the more people who submit their work to AERA, the more opportunities we are given to showcase that work. And it is the other thing I think is very important for everyone to know is that is like completely out of my hands how many were allotted. And I did actually push back this year because I was so frustrated that they had like cut the number of sessions we were allotted, because it really then it's almost like a cycle, like it hurts our SIG. So everyone benefits when you submit your work for consideration of the SIG. I can't, the program chair doesn't have control over how reviewers score it, but the more people that we get to submit, the greater chance we have of getting an additional paper or roundtable session, and then we can accept more. So like on the one hand, yeah, perhaps it sounds, I don't know, prestigious to be able to say, oh, we had like a, only like a 30% acceptance rate this year. But on the other hand, it actually like shoots us in the foot because people don't come if they're not presenting. And so it's like we are stronger as a group, as a field, the more people we get to submit for AERA consideration and presentation. Even, do not be intimidated if you like by, what's being presented. Like your work is good and we want it here. And we need more people to submit in order to get more spots to showcase it.
Perfect. Thanks, Mara. And so one of our calls today to people interested in our field is become a member. Even if you can't attend the conference this year, maintaining that membership is really critical for us to connect with you, for you to have access to our webinars, for you to go through the ARA repository and have access to their research, former presentations, the networking, not only for our SIG, but other SIGs. So the membership provides all of that, and you can stay connected. But additionally, and that's on a calendar year basis. So there might even be people on this call who are wanting to be members, or maybe even attending ARA but haven't renewed their membership yet. We'd encourage you to remember to try to get that membership renewed or start it, even if you are or aren't attending the conference. And we know that you're getting pulled in 50 different directions with organizations and areas of interest. And that's really why today we wanted to be informative about what we do at ARA and our SIG, to hopefully show that this might be a really good place for you, and maintaining your membership might be a very solid professional move for you to make. Yeah, Risto, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the conference acceptance rates. And I think when Mara and I got into the SIG in like 2015, I think it was like 50% acceptance rate. But there have been several years that acceptance rate is much higher. It just depends on the allocations that we get. And, you know, we've learned that we can kind of fight to get more allocations some years to increase that. But know that even if it is a tough acceptance, like if you get rejected, the call for the Invisible College goes out the day after the accept reject goes out, and you have 2 weeks to put on a different style of, like, it's not a research presentation, but you can go into the AERA Invisible College and you're still on the main program. So if you need to prove that I'm giving a presentation at ARA across the Invisible College, which is anywhere from 5 to 8 sessions, depending on how they're set up, there can be multiple authors there that are presenting, and we have a big tent in that way of acceptance. So I think if you've heard, oh, ARA is really hard to get into, I'm not going to waste my time. You know, I think if you have good work, that'll speak for itself, and there will be a spot for that. And in the case that you don't get accepted, oftentimes there's room in the Invisible College to be on the schedule and to be able to make it. So if you're looking to come to Los Angeles, for example, there are a lot of opportunities to be there if you want that conference to be something that you want to come join us.
And that's a perfect segue. Those of you who are not familiar with the process, just like several other conferences, you'll submit an abstract. The calls or the deadlines are usually typically somewhere in July, maybe June, depending on the date of the conference. You'll submit your abstract. As Dr. Kalina pointed out, the abstracts are a little more in depth. You're closer to 2,000 words than maybe 200, 300 to 500. I have actually found that to be painstaking, but super beneficial. At the moment of submitting the abstract, I know I've been like, oh man, I got to get this put together. And then when it comes to writing up my research and being ready for publication or a more in-depth paper, you're ready to do that. For AERA, we actually put out a call too, where beyond the abstract, we actually want a more complete version of the paper, that the discussant, you'll have another faculty member actually review a more complete part of your paper. They'll get to listen to your presentation, and you get live feedback, as well as they're usually good at giving some virtual feedback as well. So there are some real opportunities if you really care about feedback, improvement, research. You're going to have that opportunity in this organization, unlike some of the others that we present at. So due to time, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. But as Risto mentioned, if you aren't able to attend this year in Denver, we're going to have the 2026 conference, or we're not, but we'll be attending the ARA conference in Los Angeles, and abstract call should be July 2025. I want to move on so you can hear from a few of our other great folks. First, we'll talk a little bit about our presence, where you can get more information from us on social media. We're hopefully going to be using some social media to entice you all to attend. We might be giving out some prizes here in the future, but I'll pass it along to our social media expert.
Yes, so we have an official website for our SIG, and this is where you can find very basic but yet important information about our SIG. Sometimes like social media is more accessible because you can see all this different information at the same time, but sometimes it is very hard to navigate. So I think official webpage is a good place that you can see an overview of important information of our SIG. And we do have different social media platforms. For example, we have X, also like Twitter account. We were very active in we are currently very active and were previously very active on our X account. We have lots of followers, but recently we created our LinkedIn account. So if you haven't followed us already, please scan the QR code and follow us on LinkedIn platform. And moving forward, we're thinking to feature our new members on our social media accounts. So if you're new members or if you are considering joining our SIG and want to be featured on social media account, please feel free to contact me about that. And we do have a YouTube channel. So every time our webinar is finished, I upload the full video on our YouTube channel so that you can always go back and watch the full videos. So if you haven't followed us or if you haven't subscribed our YouTube channel, you can also scan the QR code and subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And if we have questions about the end on how to get connected, we'll be able to answer those. I saw Martin, you're a diligent student. I saw you already scanning with your phone from the video. Very good job. Appreciate that. I want to kick it over to Youngjun to talk a little bit about our graduate student network next.
Yeah, just like others mentioned, for those who are graduate students who have keen interest in research and who want to learn to grow as a professional, I think our SIG is the best place compared to other conferences to connect with leading scholars in our field and learn from them, and also ultimately making some difference for our disciplines. Over the last 2 years, our SIG has been trying to grab graduate students' attentions by offering graduate student webinars regarding the job application and job interview and hiring process in academia. I think this has been successful so far, but we also feel that there's room to grow compared, in terms of the graduate student retention. So we are very much open to any suggestions or recommendations from you all. If there's a good idea of how to attract graduate students more to our SIG and how graduate student forums or webinars can be run differently, we are very much open to that. And also, if you know any graduate students who might be interested in joining our SIG, please contact them with me so I can work from there. And also for your information, next month, February, and at the end of the February, we will also host a webinar on the job application process by inviting 4 panelists of new professors in the field of physical education. So please bring your neighboring graduate students, as many as you can, so that we can learn from each other and benefit from those events. Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks, Youngjun. Youngjun, can you remind me, are we still looking for future graduate student chairs to fill in for you, or how far, do we already have somebody?
I didn't know that I have authority to determine this, type of important decision. But yeah, I wanna see that.
Well, I wanted to pitch that too, because Young June's done an absolute wonderful job on getting graduate students information and getting them involved. And any of you that are PhD students on this call who might want to get involved with some leadership and get to sit in on meetings and participate actively, there might be a position in AERA soon. So just wanted to connect there. We'll provide our contact information if you're interested. Okay, so unlike a very good teaching lesson, we've been talking at all of you for a good while now, and I think it's time to open it up for some feedback. Please continue to post in the comment or the chat box if you'd like. Otherwise, I've listed some prompts here, and I'd love to hear from our community. We need to know how we can improve our total membership. What things do you need to know more about? What ways can we service our members better? I definitely want to make sure we're at our 75 mark, but I actually think that's low. We should be hitting triple digits given the impact that AERA can have on our field and the quality of research that we're doing in our field. We're not doing enough to toot our own horn and get involved and maintain our status, as Dr. Templin said, like when we started. So I'll be quiet now. Anybody that wants to jump on, either raise your hand or unmute or use the chat box. This is very much like my methods class. I talked for a long time and then no one wanted to say anything. If we have current members
Kel.
who want to pitch more information, we can do that too. Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, just to fill the space while some other people think of what they'd like to say. Gosh, I'd like to be wherever Young June looks like he is right now. The professional organizations and especially AERA have been so meaningful to me, both professionally and personally. Looking around the faces and the names on this call, I know many of you and several of you I consider to be really close friends. And I would like to think that we'd be friends even if it wasn't for the work stuff. But the work stuff gives us a way to connect, and the conferences bring us together. So the professional side of these organizations is so important. And maybe this is the Don Hellison coming out in me, but I feel like I've learned so much more in the bars than I do at the conference themselves. And it gives the opportunity for us to do that. And let's be honest, sometimes being a faculty member, you feel like you're banging your head off the pavement, trying so hard to make a difference and push for change. And it's hard to see that on a day-to-day basis. But then you come to an environment like AERA, and there are other people who are fighting that same battle right there alongside you, who care just as much as you do. It's really rejuvenating. So the research and all of that, I've gotten a lot out of AERA in that respect. But I wanted to pitch the social side because the relationships I've developed with many of you are probably more important than anything else.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Kevin. And to also pitch, following our Invisible College Day, we always have a social that we plan intentionally to get together. Not that it doesn't happen throughout the week, but there is a specific sponsored AERA social on the evening after Invisible College that is very educational, as Kevin put. I want to recognize Shannon. She was able to post in the chat. She said an absolute bonus of membership is getting to interact with amazing colleagues at the conference and having that connection the rest of the year. That is fantastic. And I will say I met Shannon through AERA as well. Thank you, Shannon, for posting that.
Do people have questions about, I feel like when I was a doctoral student or maybe, even early careers, it wasn't really till I became program chair that I felt like I understood, the process of what it means to be a part of the SIG and to present. Like, are there things that, in the spirit of transparency and trying to make it clear what goes on, like, are there questions that people have or things you want to know? Like, I want this to be helpful for you all and informative and welcoming. And so what questions can the leadership team, like, what do you want to know about the whole thing.
I think I can jump in. Hello, everyone. This is Shabalu from Georgia State. I guess being a current member, I just renewed my membership like at the end of last year, a couple months ago even. So I really enjoy the time, attending the conference and connecting with the people. And I really enjoy the happy hour with the free drink last year. So I wish I will be there as well during this year's ARA. So I guess one question I have is, when I going like every time when I reviewing the AR website, I was trying to find all the SIG like information with leadership and webinars, and I'm not sure if we have a very particular like website specific for our SIG so that we can get all the information like graduate students and like all those social media information all in one place. And also I'm curious if we have the newsletter, like, because one thing I think I receive a lot of information about, the current research, all the, network, people's most recent like publications or recognitions from my department or my college. So I'm not sure if ever we will have like a newsletter like that, so we can share all the achievement, excitement we have within the, SIG group, just to share with, have all the people stay connected and, share all the excitement we have.
Yeah, that's fantastic feedback. I really like your idea of the newsletter and maybe using our social media platforms and our webpage to get more information to share what we're doing. I will say, Sun Yin, you posted the website link for our webpage. So we do have a webpage. It is not easy to find by just going to ara.net. It is a little tricky. So we do have a QR code here on the left if you want to access it now. But I'll let Sun Yun, you want to talk a little bit about what you've been working on?
Yes. So usually I just Google ARA SIG93. And if I like Google more than 2 times, it will automatically bring you next time to the page. So that's the strategy that I use. But I just drop our link to our webpage. And also, if there are any news that you want to share on our social media account, just feel free to share with me so that I can just upload it. Because like sometimes, even like other than any good information or useful information related to our SIG or just ARA in general, I'm looking for some good information or good news that I can share on our social media account. So if there are any information or news, good news that you want to share via our social media account, feel free to reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That gives us a lot of good ideas and important things we need to be considering. We are approaching that kind of 1 hour mark, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I will hang around on the Zoom. If anybody wants to hang around and ask any individual questions, please keep an eye out for our webinars. Keep an eye out for our emailers. In February, as Youngjun mentioned, we will have a graduate student specific webinar session. So hopefully several of you can join. Here are Corey and I's emails as the chair and future chair, chair-elect. And so if you want to reach out and you have questions, please let us know. We will be posting this video to our YouTube channel, and we'll try to send out the link to our emailer list too. Without being a member, we don't know if we can contact you, so make sure you do that. Yeah, thank you. Kevin just mentioned, look forward to hopefully seeing many of you in Denver, but I'll hang around. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the SIG leadership members for who took the time to be here as well. Appreciate it.